Ready for the video?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
All right.
Naturally exhibit
Yeah, that's a
more
good point.
masculine qualities. There may
Did you know that?
one
I did
half
not
of him
realize
is
that.
woman
That's interesting.
to clearly show
Exactly what you said,
rather
Eesha.
than
Restructuring the
women
workspaces.
changing themselves
He said
like
it better
men
than
and
me,
going
but
out
yep.
and being successful. We need to redesign.
I always find myself trying to act like less, maybe like sensitive and emotional, just to like explain something to a woman and tries to make her feel stupid about it. The word mansplaining has like definitely happened to me so many.
Present practice. What's conscious? This is Vish and
Eesha,
and today we'll be responding to Sadhguru's video on
how can women succeed in today's world?
My name is Vish and I'm an aspiring yogi. Love all things wisdom, yoga, and meditation based. Super grateful to have Eesha on the show.
Hello, everyone.
Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Eesha and I'm currently a sophomore at UT Austin.
Thanks for being here. She's a close family friend of mine. We know each other from back in New York. Before we start, would love to hear what your views are. Yeah, that's you watching right there, about how women can succeed in the world. Just your general views on that in the comments down below. And with that,
Let's get into the video.
In today's world, in this competitive world where we want to go out and work, how do we make sure that the women who go out and work, they balance their life well? You know, spiritual leaders like you can certainly give them some practical understanding of how to, be there and maintain their balance and be very well in a sense of spirituality also.
This may not be good for certain industry, but it's very important that you said just now, men should also do this feminism. No, what we need is humanity. We don't need masculinism or feminism, we need human nature to evolve. If human nature evolves, women will naturally exhibit more feminine qualities.
Do you think so?
Men will naturally
Yeah, I
exhibit
think that's
more
a good point.
masculine qualities. There may be a little intermixing, some women may be more masculine, some men may be a little more feminine. That's not an issue. But the important thing is our humanity should overflow, not our masculinity or our femininity, because you're talking about skewing life. Don't skew life, we will pay for it after some time. It's important life comes up in a balanced manner. You must understand in this country, this is being demonstrated
Balance
in
is the
1,000
key.
different ways. See, in the culture and in a way in the world, the most masculine, athletic god that you can see is Shiva. But one half of him is woman, all right?
Did you know that?
One
I did
half
not
of him
realize
is
that.
woman
That's interesting.
to clearly show in symbolism that you're a combination of the two. If you're not
100%.
balanced between these two, you will become a very skewed life. Any skewed life, either this way or that way, you're going to pay the price after some time. So if women have to succeed in today's world, why are we always thinking of putting a woman into a man's world and asking her to succeed? Why don't we redesign the world a little bit, as it is suitable for all human beings? You must understand the world got
I agree with
designed
that.
like this at a certain time in history when, let us say, now so many ladies are sitting here, let us say it's 1,000 years ago. Many of them have traveled long distances and come, I'm sure.
So Eesha, so far, what are your thoughts?
I think he's wording the way the world is changing right now. I think he's wording it very well. I never really thought about it as like society putting women into a man's world, but more like evolving it to fit both genders. I think that's a pretty good point. But yeah.
Great perspective. So what would you instead recommend? So instead of having a woman or a female to fit the man's world, how should that be reframed from what you're thinking?
I think definitely like they, or maybe like corporate America, just to give an example, should definitely maybe change its like views and policies in a way where they're more like family friendly and like they give both men and women more like maternal, paternal leave and things like that. So women aren't like discouraged to join the workforce because they feel like they have to balance like the aspect of like being a mom but also being a working professional, right? Like they shouldn't have to just choose one, they should be able to do both. And so I think that like big companies and jobs should definitely like kind of alter their like employee kind of models to that.
That's a great, I love that. I think it definitely fit with what he was saying, right? Like with redesigning the structure.
Yeah.
So Great perspective, and let's get back into the video.
1,000 years ago, you think so many of them would have traveled and come? They're coming here not because the society has become liberal, they're coming here because of technological means of transport. So technology has come, machine has overpowered the muscle. So now what matters is your success largely depends on your intelligence, not
Yes.
on your muscular strength.
I agree.
So
Do you?
now a level playing
I
field
agree.
is being created just now. Already don't jump the gun, let us continue to do this, gradually it'll anyway level out. But if you try to forcefully change things, you will see it'll create ugliness. And in the end, it is women who loses out because there is a certain sensitivity that she needs in the society. If everything is run by rules, she will suffer. Hard rules. Man doesn't care, he will go on. But women will suffer. It's very important, a sensitive society is created, not just by law. Little sensitivity is needed. Law can be made ugly for the woman, yes? Law can be made very ugly. You took up Draupadi's example. This is what happened. They went by the word of the law and made it so ugly for her. If there was little sensitivity in that court, they would have said, this is not it, isn't it? But they went on debating dharma, dharma, adharma, and they said, okay, this is the law, and
think
they
I'm getting his
interpreted
point
it in
now.
1,000 different ways and made her go through the disgraceful situation. So we must understand this. If sensitivity has to come, it is important that we restructure the situation itself, rather than trying to put a round thing into a square hole. It doesn't work like that. If you do that, there will be friction, there will be unnecessary sufferings. Every generation will suffer like this. It's very important we restructure the workspaces because now so many women are beginning to go out and work. We need to change the external situation.
Exactly what you said,
rather
Eesha,
than
restructuring the
women
workspaces.
changing
He
themselves
said
like
it better
men
than
and
me,
going
but
out
yep.
and being successful. We need to redesign the world, and that won't happen overnight. We need to pay attention to it. What is the requirement?
So Eesha, being a young female yourself, going to a top university, having a very successful future ahead of you, what went through your mind as you watched this video?
Honestly, yeah, I agree. Like, me personally, there have definitely been instances where, like, in college and different, like, student organizations or just kind of, like, trying to network and stuff, like, the word mansplaining has, like, definitely happened to me so many times.
What does that mean, mansplaining?
It's, like, basically when a man tries to explain something to a woman and tries to make her feel stupid about not knowing what it is.
It's like putting down.
Yeah, kind of. Especially, like, if you're talking to them about, like, finance type things, like stock market and stuff, like, I feel like guys just will go off and, like, explain it to you in a way where, like, you're just so stupid. And
Have you experienced this yourself?
Yes, I have experienced this very many times, especially studying business in the business school. I happen to interact with a lot of people in business. But yes, I definitely agree with what he was saying, where the workplace should be more friendly to and accommodating to both, like, men and women, and not just, like, a man's world where women are constantly trying to prove themselves and show men that, like, they can do the same things that that men can do too.
Great perspective, Eesha, and I appreciate you sharing that experience of yours. I think it's super valid, and it goes to show how important his point was, which was around the topic of how we shouldn't just create laws, right? I think the key here is to be more sensitive. Before I explain what I thought, what do you think that meant when he was talking about how people need to be more sensitive?
In my head, I wasn't completely sure what he was talking about. I think the first connotation that comes to mind when you say sensitive is how, like, obviously women are just biologically more, like, emotional and sensitive than men. So I guess I was thinking.
Do you think that's true?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely do think that's true, and I think it was really interesting what he was talking about, how, like, we need to be accommodating to both men and women in that way, because, like, even as a woman myself, like, whenever I'm in a group of, like, predominantly guys, like, I always find myself trying to act, like, less maybe, like, sensitive and emotional, just so, like, I don't seem, like, annoying maybe, or they're not like, oh, like, she's a girl, like, let's not hang out with her kind of thing. And, like, yeah, that definitely happens to me, like, a lot. So I think it's very interesting, the point that he brought up with that.
So the key is to be yourself, right, regardless of who you're with. And maybe it's not the most easiest, but I think what you mentioned is a great point too. And what I kind of felt with that word that he described, I think it really went along the lines of how, I think it's similar, right? Again, it goes back to what I was saying in the other video, which was how men and women are equal, but different, right? So men tend to be more logical in nature, females tend to be more emotional in nature. Would you agree with that line?
Yeah, I mean, I think logical is not really a good word to use. I think women are pretty logical, but they definitely are more like emotional.
Okay, so more emotional.
When men have like less like emotions and feelings when they kind of make decisions, but women have more. I think that's a better way of saying it.
Okay, fine. So I appreciate that perspective and I guess that frame of viewing it. And so I guess the key here is to realize that it's okay, even just coming again from a female herself and I'm a male, like to realize that we are different, right? There's nothing wrong with being different. But the key here is when you're more emotional, as you mentioned, women tend to be, not that that's a good or bad thing, it's just how it is. Again, as Sadhguru himself mentioned, doesn't mean everyone is more emotional as a female, right? There could be certain men that are more emotional. It could vary, but on an average, right? The point here is that when you're more emotional, you tend to be more sensitive, right? And hard, strict rules and laws, which could supposedly help women, might not be given the conscious awareness of view in terms of help, right? So maybe there's this law that's put into place to help with, let's say, equal pay. But then that law is put into place, but then men are just so stuck on that law that they're not like actually being more empathetic or compassionate to the, let's say, the woman that's struggling. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or no, you can be honest if it doesn't.
No, I do get what you're saying.
So the key is just to be, I think, more conscious, right? Not just make laws, but for guys or men to be more sensitive and more conscious and just more, I would say, empathy, right?
Right, yeah. I definitely think there's like, right now what he was saying about like a man's world, like I think it's more women trying to fit in and like trying to act more tough and prove that they can be in the workforce too. But I think it's important to like be able to embrace our differences, and like women should feel like proud of like being more feminine. Men should be proud of like being more masculine, which they already are. But like women, like what I was saying earlier, like we shouldn't feel kind of like ashamed to be a little bit more sensitive or a little more emotional than guys.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for sharing that, Eesha. Thanks for being here. Would love to hear what you all thought about our responses. Whether you agree, disagree, does not matter. Also, how do you think women can succeed in today's day and age? Let us know in the comments down below. And Eesha, remind the viewers, where can they find you?
My Instagram is at Eesha Patel _. That's EESHAPATEL _.
All of our stuff will be down below. And if you have any other video reaction requests or topics, you can also comment down below. With that, make a great day, take a joyful and stay conscious. Awesome job, Eesha.
Thank you so much for having me.
You did great.
Thank you.